And so if we think of the thought experiment of Alice and Bob floating in completely empty space, and imagine that for both of them, they view up as being the direction from their feet to their head, then if they're oriented differently with respect to each other, then they have two completely different notions of up, and there's nothing to say who's right and who's wrong. So in their scenario, they are stuck in a situation where up is entirely subjective. And this is due to the lack of anything breaking the symmetry that they can see beyond themselves. There's no stars, there's no planets, there's nothing outside of themselves that can give them any sense of orientation. So subjectivity gives rise to something like pure subjectivity. But if instead, imagine there was some sort of a large structure that suddenly emerged to one side of them, like an infinitely long plane that seemed to go on forever, then suddenly they would have some objective direction that is independent of their mere subjective opinion, which is to say, in this direction there's a giant mass, and in this direction there's nothing. But then imagine that suddenly that giant mass generated a gravitational field and pulled them toward it. So now they can stand on this structure. Now suddenly they both gain some sort of objective notion of up because both of their feet are on the surface. And this is essentially the scenario that we're in reality. The only reason why we have some sense of an objective up is because we are all entangled to an environment that seems to have a consistent structure and is predictable. And so because of that, the classical reality that we all live in gives us a notion of up. But even this notion of up isn't absolutely objective because our notion of up comes from the gravitational field of the Earth. We know that if we want to go up, then we have to do work against the gravitational field. And so what we have is a radial vector from the center of the Earth going outward, and anyone standing on the surface, their up is the outward radial direction. But for one person on one side of the planet and another person on the other side of the planet, what is up to one person is down to another. And even so, as we pan out from just our Earth, we see that our Earth is floating around in space. And so this scenario of a lack of objective up is actually the reality that we experience every day.